Okay, today should be an easy day. Okay, so we're doing solutions to quadratic equations, except we're using graphs and tables or the calculator. Yes? Okay, so we like today because we don't have to do a lot of the math in our own heads. So, looking at the first one, we're just kind of reviewing what quadratics are from a table. How do I know this is a quadratic? It has the rainbow. So I'll take the 2 zeros because we also have 2 negative 3s, 2 zeros, 2 5s, 2 12s. So we know it's a quadratic because we have the rainbow. How do I find the vertex from there? Yeah, think about when we graph the U shape, isn't the vertex in the middle? Yeah. So it's also in the middle of our rainbow. So 4, negative 4 is my vertex. And your axis of symmetry is always x equals the x of your vertex. So x equals 4. Anybody? Okay, y-intercepts are where x equals 0. So x equals 0 here. So this is my y-intercept. So 0, 12 is my y-intercept, and I put it in parentheses because I wrote it as a point. It just says y-intercept, sorry. That color is kind of bad. Okay, and then it says, what are the solutions to f of x equals 0? Isn't f of x just y? Yeah. So now it's saying y equals 0. Well, look, this is f of x, or y. So y is 0 at 2, and again at 6. So I'm going to use fancy brackets or braces because I'm going to list my answers. Now, could I also write those as points 2, 0, and 6, 0? Yeah, those are just x-intercepts. And I know this is just asking for x-intercepts because it's telling me y is 0. Then it says if 10 is one solution to f of x equals 32. So I have this f of x equals 32. What's my other solution? Well, do y'all remember when we would extend our rainbow? So if this is 21, what came before 12? 21. And if this is 32, what went before 21? 32. And then what are we counting by in the x's? 1. So what went before 0? And what went before negative 1? So now, what's my other solution to f of x equals 32? Negative 2. And then it says, what are the solutions to f of x equals 21? Well, f of x equals, that's the y, so y is 21 at 9, and then where else? Negative 1, so it's going to be negative 1, 9. And again, I wrote them as a list, so I put them in the fancy brackets. You don't need to. I think so. Any questions with that? Okay, hopefully that was just a refresher. I said that real country. This is where we are. It happens. Okay, so it says a solution to any value that makes the statement, or a solution is any value, that makes the statement true. Okay, so we're just looking how to make our statements true. Okay, so it says, what are the solutions for 0 equals 2x squared minus 8x minus 10? Well, isn't this pretty much like saying y equals 0? Isn't it usually a y equals equation? Yeah. So this is telling us y is 0. Well, y is 0 on the x-axis. So what are my two solutions? Well, what comes between 0 and negative 2? Negative 1. Because you see it's counting by 2's, and that one's right in the middle. So what comes between 4 and 6? 5. Okay, we also call this point our roots, our zeros, and our x-intercepts. Okay, then it says, what is the solution of f of x equals negative 10? Well, negative 10 is here. What 2 points? What are the x's of those 2 points? No, down here. So it's 0 and 4. Where? Yes, roots, zeros, x-intercepts. Okay, and then our acronym to remember that roots, zeros, x-intercepts is math rocks. R-O-X. For roots, zeros, x-intercepts. So that's where the rocks comes from. It's not. Roots, zeros, and then x-intercepts. Okay, I want y'all to try to answer these at the bottom. Ready, go. Try to answer the ones at the bottom. Zeros. It looks like a zero. Not necessarily from the chart. Okay, that's okay. Okay, what's my vertex? It's okay. 3, 0. You have to write it as a point. So 3, 0. And 0, 3, is that the same thing? No, so you cannot write 0, 3. It has to be 3, 0. And my axis of symmetry is x equals what? 3. Because remember, the x of your vertex is always going to be that number. And it's because where it cuts it in half. So then it says, how many zeros does this graph have? Well, zeros are another word for what? X-intercept. So when I highlight my x-axis, how many do I have? 1. Doesn't it only touch that highlighted line just once? Yes. So I only have 1. And then it says, what is the solution to g of x equals 0? Well, that's just my zeros. What is my 0? Because I only have 1. Where does it touch? 3. And you can write x equals 3, or you can put the 3 inside the fancy brackets. What about g of x equals 4? Well, here's my g of x equals 4. It has 2, and what are they? 1 and 5. Any questions about that? You could put them both in fancy brackets, or you could literally write x equals 1, x equals 5. You could do both of those. No. It'll be, well, we're about to talk about that, so hold on, watch. Look here. Here we're going to talk about how many options you have. So what I want you to realize is on all of these we're talking about x-intercepts, right? So we have this option. What's the difference? The first one touches twice. Okay, it touches here and here, so we have 2 solutions. Now, hold on, yeah, so what I want you to realize though is if I showed you this and I said, what are my x-intercepts? You can't tell me 2. What are my x-intercepts? -2 and 4. So you would have to tell me both of those. The only reason you'll ever tell me how many solutions is if I say how many solutions. But if I say what's the solution, you're not going to tell me how many. You're going to tell me what it actually is. Okay, what about this one? How many times does it touch? 1. So if the vertex is on the x-intercept, there's only one solution. And the answer is actually 1 here. So this one's a little different. Or x equals 1, yeah. What about this one? They don't touch. And you don't want to tell me 0, because if you tell me 0, I'm going to think you're telling me it touches right there. Does it touch right there? No, so you're going to tell me no solution. So if this is what yours looks like, you're going to say no solution. Or you can do the symbol for no solution, which is the 0 with a line through it. However, if you tell me 0, I'm going to think you're saying it touches at the origin. So don't tell me 0. Okay, so we're here. Dear Lord. Okay, what's the vertex? -1 what? -1, -4. You're exactly right. And my axis of symmetry is x equals what? We can draw it. What did it go through? X equals -1, yes. Okay, how many zeros does this graph have? 2. Okay, are both roots positive, both negative, or one positive, one negative? Yeah, look, this is a positive 1, this is a -3, so I have 1 positive, 1 negative. And what is the solution for h of x equals 0? Or what are the solutions? -3 and 1. Good job. Can I put this answer in parentheses instead of fancy brackets? No, because parentheses would be you telling me the solution's -3, 1, which is right here, and that's not my answer. Okay, what are the solutions to h of x equals -3? Well, that's going to be down here at a height of -3. Where does it touch? -2 is one of them. What else? 0. Be careful, it's on that axis, so it's going to be 0. So it's -2, 0. Now, we haven't talked about domain and range in a long time. So this is kind of a conversation we haven't had in a while, and that's okay. Domain is x or y? X. Be careful. It's my side to side. So we're going to go left to right. What's the farthest left? Because I want you to realize, does this line continue and have arrows? No, it doesn't. It stops at the open dots. So what's the farthest left it goes? -4. And what's the farthest right it goes? 2. We're talking about x because it's domain. We always use less than. Are those less thans going to get equal to's? No, because weren't your dots on the farthest left and the farthest right open? So then we're not going to put an equal to. Now my range is lowest, so -4, to my highest at 5. Now I could put a y in the middle, but could I also put an h of x? Yeah, because h of x just means y. Always use less than. Will either of those get an equal to? Is there an open dot at -4? No, so that one does get an equal to, but the 5 will not. Okay, we're going to stop there until after lunch. Okay. Now, what's different about these? You'll see I did edit some of them, and I added one. So I want you to change these like I did and add that one. Ready, go. Now, these are telling you, come on, y'all. These are telling you to solve using the calculator. And the way you're going to do these is you're going to type both sides of the equation in the calculator, y equals both sides. So y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 6. And then in the next line, I'm going to type y equals 36. And it's the same concept. We're looking for where they touch. Yes? Now, do I see right now where the two lines touch? No, I have to zoom. So I typed y equals for both sides of the equal sign. And then I'm just looking for where they touch. Where do they touch? What are the x's? -3 and 5. So there's my answer. So same concept here. Y equals. So this one has 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. And then y equals 0. Well, if it's y equals 0, isn't that just the x-intercept? Ouch. Yes. So, now, do you notice this one gives us a decimal? Now, we want decimals, we want fractions. Okay, so what I want you to realize is if you have a repeating decimal like that, isn't that just 1.6 repeating? Okay. So it's going to be -1.6 all the way across. Watch this fraction. See the fraction button? It's going to go away, and then when it comes back, you can click it, and it'll turn it into the repeating decimal for you. So this is -5/3, comma, what was the pretty point? 1. Yep. Okay. This one, again, y equals. I want y'all typing it in. Ready to go. Everybody should be typing it in. Boys, type it in. Stop. Typing it in. Left side, right side. Y equals the left side, y equals the right side. Remember, we changed this one. Okay, where do they touch? -3, 1. Okay, I want y'all to try these two. Ready to go. Try those two on your own. What do you notice about this one?
I noticed that
there's a decimal. So we have number 1, and then we have 1.5. So we could type 1.5 and turn it into a fraction, and we get 3/2. I told y'all to change the equation. Okay, type it in. Y'all are doing that last one. Doing the last one. Now this one, what am I going to type? Y equals what? 0. And -4 and 2. Good job. Now the last one is a word problem. It says the total number of seats And an auditorium is modeled by this equation, so I'm going to go ahead and type that in. So I have 2x squared minus 6x. And then it says where x represents the number of rows of seats, how many rows are there in the auditorium if it has a total of 416 seats? What am I going to type here? Y equals 416. And now I'm obviously going to have to zoom way out to find that. Now here's my question. We get negative 13 and 16. Can you have negative 13 rows? No. So is that even part of my answer? So what's the only answer? So we have 16 rows. Well, this is a real world problem though, so does negative make sense here? No, so we're only choosing the positive answer. Put it in a pass.